When German generals examined America before World War II, they saw only shopkeepers and dreamers, utterly unprepared for the brutal realities of modern combat. For generations, Berlin's military elite held unmatched prestige across Europe. They scrutinized American military journals, observed training exercises, and analyzed our industrial capacity. Their conclusion seemed obvious: Americans lacked the warrior spirit, the discipline, and the hardened will necessary for true warfare. This wasn't mere prejudice, it was a calculated assessment, based on centuries of Prussian military tradition. In 1941, while German panzers crushed Soviet defenses deep inside Russia, the US Army appeared almost laughable by comparison. Our forces numbered barely 1.5 million, many with equipment dating back to the previous World War. Our officers possessed theoretical knowledge but lacked recent battlefield experience. Germany, meanwhile, stood triumphant across continental Europe, having rewritten warfare with their lightning-fast blitzkrieg tactics. When Pearl Harbor thrust America into global conflict, German high command barely blinked. Their calculations suggested it would take us 3 years to build, train, and transport a meaningful fighting force across the Atlantic. By then, they believed, Britain would have surrendered, Russia would be broken, and the war would be decided. This miscalculation would cost them everything. The first warning signs appeared not on battlefields, but on paper in shipping manifests and production reports crossing the desks of German intelligence analysts. These meticulous professionals stared at numbers they simply couldn't trust. America's shipyards, many barely operational before the war, were now producing Liberty ships at impossible speeds. What took European builders months, American factories completed in weeks, then days. One vessel, the SS Robert E. Peary, was assembled from raw steel to launching just for days. German U-boat commanders were sinking Allied ships at alarming rates. But Berlin's analysts realized with growing dread that America was launching new vessels, faster than the entire German submarine fleet could destroy them. The Atlantic lifeline to Britain wasn't weakening, it was strengthening daily. Above the shipyards, aircraft factories told an equally impossible story. Ford's Willow Run plant, stretching a full mile across Michigan, rolled out heavy bombers with the efficiency of Model T production. German intelligence reports claimed America was manufacturing more B-24 Liberators each month than Germany's entire yearly output of heavy bombers. Their immediate dismissal of these reports as propaganda would prove catastrophic. The numbers defied belief. While fighting a two-ocean war and supplying allies, America was outproducing the Third Reich by factors of 3, 4, even 5 to 1 in critical categories. Where German tanks represented master craftsmanship, American Shermans emerged from assembly lines like household appliances. Over 50,000 would eventually roll off production lines. German planners slowly accepted a terrifying reality. America wasn't building an army. It was manufacturing a tsunami of steel. Yet Berlin clung to one crucial belief: equipment means little without warrior spirit. German doctrine insisted quality would always overcome quantity. This faith seemed validated during early 1943 at Kasserine Pass in Tunisia, where Rommel's battle-hardened Afrika Korps routed inexperienced American troops. Units broke under pressure, equipment was abandoned in humiliating retreat. German soldiers scavenging through captured American supplies felt their confidence surge. This was exactly the soft enemy they had anticipated. By contrast, Soviet soldiers had proven terrifyingly resilient on the Eastern Front, willing to absorb staggering casualties and keep advancing. The Americans seemed cautious, overly concerned with preserving their men's lives. A captured German assessment famously concluded they lacked fanatical determination. Berlin settled on a comfortable new theory: America had endless supplies, but squandered them through poor training and leadership. German tactical brilliance would neutralize American industrial might. This belief persisted through the Italian campaign, where American forces gradually improved but advanced at a grinding, costly pace. German defensive mastery seemed to confirm their superiority. This final pillar of confidence remained unshaken until dawn broke over the Normandy coast. On June 6, 1944, not on the beaches themselves, but in the bloody weeks that followed in the hedgerow country beyond, The invasion fleet scale was unprecedented, over 5,000 vessels crowding the English Channel. But numbers alone couldn't prepare German commanders for the philosophy driving American warfare. In European tradition, artillery represented a precious resource, shells carefully husbanded, fired precisely at high-value targets. American tactics operated on entirely different principles. When a single German machine gun nest pinned down an American platoon, the lieutenant didn't order a costly frontal assault or complex flanking maneuver. Instead, he reached for his radio. First company mortars, then battalion artillery, then divisional guns would unleash barrages dwarfing German weekly ammunition allotments. If resistance continued, P-47 Thunderbolts would arrive with bombs and rockets. Near the coast, battleship guns could erase entire sections of landscape. Only after total annihilation of the position would infantry advance. German officers watching this systematic destruction found it wasteful, even cowardly. Yet they couldn't deny its effectiveness. American units advanced slowly but steadily, suffering for fewer casualties than comparable German operations would incur. The master race of soldiers was being methodically ground down, running out of ammunition, men, and hope. The core difference lay in logistics philosophy. German supply systems, perfected through generations of Prussian efficiency, operated on principles of sufficiency, delivering precisely calculated minimums with maximum efficiency. American logistics embraced abundance and redundancy. Supply dumps captured by Germans contained mountains of ammunition, oceans of fuel, acres of spare parts often sitting uncovered in the rain. It violated every principle of military efficiency, yet ensured American units never stopped fighting. America didn't win battles, it won the minutes between them. Even more shocking was the difference in mobility. Despite pioneering blitzkrieg tactics, most of the German army in 1944 still moved on foot or horseback. Their artillery, supplies, and equipment largely depended on hundreds of thousands of horses. Only elite panzer divisions enjoyed full mechanization, and even they operated aging captured vehicles, starved for parts and fuel. In all of France, German forces could muster barely 2,000 operational tanks. American forces in Normandy deployed over 10,000 tanks, with thousands more arriving weekly. More significantly, their entire army was completely motorized. No horses, no marching infantry. The ubiquitous Deuce-Sanderhalf trucks and jeeps transformed operational reality. When German divisions needed days to march 100 miles, arriving exhausted, and combat-ineffective American divisions drove the same distance in 6 hours, ready to fight immediately. This mobility gap created an insurmountable battlefield advantage. Operation Cobra in late July 1940 shattered any remaining German illusions. American forces concentrated overwhelming firepower on a narrow front, thousands of artillery pieces, followed by waves of heavy bombers that literally erased German defensive positions from the map. Through this gap poured Patton's armored divisions, advancing at speeds German commanders considered impossible. They bypassed strong points rather than engaging them directly, leaving them for follow-up forces to eliminate. German attempts to organize counterattacks collapsed under relentless American air superiority. Fighter bombers, directed by ground observers, destroyed panzer columns before they reached assembly areas. German communications, intercepted through Allied code-breaking, left commanders operating in transparent fishbowls. Field Marshal von Kluge's desperate reports to Hitler described not merely defeat, but complete disintegration of German forces. He acknowledged his men fought bravely, but concluded tragically, none of it matters. The weeks that followed witnessed one of history's greatest military pursuits. Patton's Third Army advanced hundreds of miles in days, not despite supply challenges, but through the Red Ball Express, an unprecedented truck convoy system operating 24 hours daily. African-American drivers of the Quartermaster Corps maintained this lifeline, delivering thousands of tons of supplies daily along routes German horse-drawn wagons could never match. German commanders established defensive positions along river lines they believed would hold for weeks, only to wake to American pontoon bridges already spanning the waterways, with armored columns in their rear. The speed, scale, and relentless nature of American operations seemed to defy the fundamental limitations of warfare. Captured American field manuals further bewildered German analysts. American doctrine assumed ammunition consumption rates German planners considered criminally wasteful, where German quartermasters prized veteran soldiers and battlefield repairs. American systems treated both men and machines as replaceable components. When tanks broke down, Americans didn't repair engines in the field, they swapped entire power packs. Combat veterans rotated home to train replacements while fresh troops filled frontline ranks. This industrial approach maintained steady combat power, while German divisions required weeks or months to recover after major operations. Field Marshal von Rundstedt, recalled from retirement to command Western forces, reviewed the situation with Prussian pessimism. His conclusion was inescapable. German tactical brilliance had become irrelevant against American material superiority so overwhelming it rendered traditional military virtues meaningless. Even local victories cost Germany irreplaceable men and equipment. American defeats were merely temporary setbacks erased within weeks by their replacement system. The mathematics of attrition had already decided the war's outcome regardless of battlefield heroics. Hitler's last desperate gamble, the Ardennes offensive of December 1944, initially seemed to validate German superiority. Elite panzer divisions achieved complete surprise during a snowstorm that grounded Allied aircraft. They surrounded American units and captured thousands of prisoners. For a few frantic days, the ghost of 1940 seemed to return. But American resilience proved Germany's final miscalculation. Surrounded units like the 101st Airborne at Bastogne refused to surrender orders. Their legendary one-word reply, "nuts," epitomized American stubbornness. More devastatingly, American logistics performed the impossible. Patton's Third Army, preparing attacks 90 miles south, pivoted 90 degrees in just 48 hours, arriving at Bastogne's relief with speed that defied European military logic. When skies cleared, Allied aircraft didn't merely attack German front lines, they annihilated supply columns. Elite panzers that had advanced brilliantly ground to a halt out of fuel. Germany's last reserves of men, armor, and fuel achieved nothing. The contrasting realities became brutally clear. When Germany lost elite divisions, they were gone forever. When America suffered heavy losses, replacements arrived within weeks. Captured German soldiers' letters home revealed a bitter respect for this new enemy. They maintained belief in their individual superiority, but complained bitterly about facing an opponent who refused to fight fair, who called down torrents of steel to eliminate single machine gun positions, who ate hot meals on front lines, who replaced casualties overnight. Eastern Front veterans transferred west made a telling comparison. Russians attacked in human waves. That could be stopped with good defenses and steady nerves. Americans attacked as an unstoppable machine that reduced positions to rubble given enough time. What most impressed and terrified German officers was the systematic nature of American warfare. America had weaponized its entire industrial culture, applying mass production principles to warfare itself. They didn't rely on centuries of martial tradition, but created competent soldiers through standardized training. They didn't depend on individual heroism, but on coordination, teamwork, and overwhelming firepower. Their system minimized the importance of any single man while maximizing collective effectiveness. Germany fought with warriors. America fought with systems. This industrial philosophy offended German military culture built on individual excellence, but was winning the war in the most decisive manner imaginable. By 1945, the contrast was stark. Germany fielded children and elderly men armed with single-shot weapons. America deployed fresh divisions with latest equipment, air superiority, and logistical support exceeding German field marshals' peacetime resources. The symbolic end came at the Rhine River, crossing Germany's last natural barrier. The Germans defended it desperately. The Americans crossed it methodically, solving another industrial problem through engineering ingenuity and overwhelming firepower. Within days, American armies spread across Western Germany against resistance that was dissolving rather than fighting. When exactly did Germany realize America was built differently? It wasn't a single moment, but a cascade of painful realizations. It was the analyst in Berlin staring at impossible shipping numbers. It was the quartermaster walking through captured supply dumps larger than his hometown. It was the frontline commander watching his best position vaporized by unseen naval guns. It was the field marshal studying maps and accepting that attrition mathematics had already sealed his nation's fate. They learned that America had transformed its entire economy into a weapon. They learned that mass production and industrial might had created a new form of warfare that made traditional measures of courage almost obsolete. Most painfully, they learned that America could afford to be wasteful, could afford mistakes, could replace losses because its resources were truly unimaginable in scale. This story from our grandparents' generation reveals something fundamental about American character: our ability to transform industry into power, our systematic approach to seemingly impossible challenges, and our willingness to apply overwhelming resources to achieve objectives. It's not merely a history lesson, but a reflection of who we are as a nation. If you found this exploration of history meaningful, we'd be honored if you'd join our community. Take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Winds of Thought. Your support helps us continue creating content that connects past wisdom to present challenges. What moment in American history do you believe demonstrates our unique character most powerfully? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We read everyone.